This will be a demonstrations for all of our Dynamics users that could use eProcurement in their solutions. A little bit about OmniVue. In case you don't know, we are a gold certified Dynamics partner and certifications both in ERP and CRM. If you're our partner, thank you. And if you're looking for a partner, please check us out. This will be the first webinar for our 2015 season, and you know, your input is very valuable to us. If you have topics that you would like to bring to our attention for future webinars, please, by all means, bring those to my attention. Now, a couple of housekeeping items for this year. If you happen to be attending Convergence, please let us know. We're in the process of helping our partners plan for that event. And if you are in the process of planning your 2015 Dynamics product plan, please give us a call. We're in the process of doing that as well. Now, let me take a minute to introduce today's presenter. His name is Rich Fowler, and he's our partner account manager with ReQlogic. OmniVue has extensive experience in working with ReQlogic, and we really pride them as a valuable partner of ours. And what I'd like to do today is to turn this over to Rich and let him spend about 30 minutes talking about his solution and how it has really intensified and helped out the Dynamics platform. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rich.
Well, thank you, Sean, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for allowing me to give you kind of a high-level overview of ReQlogic as it pertains to the Microsoft Dynamics world. As you can see from the slide, we have two driving goals: powering efficiency and cost control in any organization we work within. And those are the keys, and that's what we're going to focus on here in the next 20, 25 minutes or so. I will tell you that a standard ReQlogic demo can take upwards of 3 to 3.5 hours if we were to capture everything that ReQlogic can do, because frankly we do a lot. So we're not going to do that today. I know we've got 20 minutes. I'm going to give you a taste of some of the things that might interest you. And should any of these things interest you, please contact Sean, and he will talk you through what the next steps might be. It's staff in both the sales and the implementation side. So with that, we know why we're here. We're going to skip the agenda. Let's talk about what ReQlogic actually does. Now, we're known for the requisitionings piece, but we actually do the full eProcurement cycle. So we can do the requisitionings piece, and that's what we've been doing for the last 15 years or so and doing it very well. But we also do other things in the cycle. So we do the requisitions into the approval process, into a purchase order in Dynamics. We can do the receiving. At the end of that process, we can kick off the invoicing process, both for purchase order related invoices and non-purchase order related invoices. We handle the expense process, both employee reimbursable expenses as well as corporate credit cards, P-cards, reconciliations, and things like that. We do timesheets as it relates to project and things like that. Again, we're known for the requisitions piece, and that's what we're going to start with. But we're also capable of doing those things that you may not think about. So we talk about things like check requests and cash advances, as well as something that we call business process workflow, although you can call it business process optimization or just workflow or whatever you choose. But think about that as those things that you want some kind of a control on the process, as well as some kind of an audit trail after the process. That's just business process workflow, and that's stock standard within ReQlogic. Some of our customers use it for a variety of things. One of the more popular things that it can be used for is new vendor onboarding. So when you get a new vendor, or when one of your employees thinks they might have a new vendor, do you have a process for getting that vendor vetted? Do I have somebody that gets the information? Do I get the W-9, the terms and conditions, the credit check, and all of that? With ReQlogic as part of that workflow, I can get that vendor vetted and onboarded, and I can have Dynamics either auto-create that vendor in the accounting system if I want that to happen, excuse me, or I can have it go to somebody in accounting or purchasing or wherever to allow that person to put one last set of eyes on it and then push it into Dynamics as a vendor. Because of the direct real-time integration into Dynamics, it makes for several opportunities for you. All of your data is held in one place. There's no worry about duplication of effort, duplication of data, anything like that. Once we've captured the information, we've got it, and I can use it wherever it happens to be. So no worries about somebody having to type something into a spreadsheet and then type it again into something else, and somebody else having to type it into Dynamics. No, as long as we've captured the information, we've got it, and we can use it. The other part of that makes it fun is the data validation side, because you can determine in your process what pieces of information are necessary from what personnel at whatever step in the process you determine. So specifically for something like a requisition, well, my requester may only know that, gee, I need 25 widgets, and that may be all they know. However, on the invoicing side, they may know the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how much, all of those things, and I can force the right information to be input at the right time from the right personnel so that accounting or purchasing or somebody else doesn't have to go back at the end of the month and try to backfill information that should have been done at the time of the initial request. So really all we're trying to do is enforce the business rules that you've already got established. From a very high level, we talk about 3 people in ReQlogic. The requester is somebody that needs something, and as long as they can get to the web and get that request entered, that's all they have to do. Once it's into your review process, then you determine what happens to it from there. Do I send my reviewers an email to tell them they've got something out there? Do I give them a systems notification? Do I give them both? And then I determine, or pardon me, you determine what happens in that process. Does the reviewer have the ability to say yes or no to the entire request? Can they say yes or no to specific line items and give them line item veto power? Can they edit the line item to change various pieces of data before I make that yes-no decision? All of those things are in your control all the way through the process. And then specific to the requisitions process, I can have somebody that acts as a buyer. So for those folks that might have a centralized buying process, I can have a buyer that can be the one to take all of the approved requisition lines, turn those into purchase orders at the end of the process, do the consolidations, have the system do consolidations for me. So whether I'm doing it in one PO per vendor, one PO per site, one PO per however I'm doing it, I can let the system help with the consolidation. And if I'm carrying an inventory, I can actually fulfill from inventory from inside of ReQlogic, all without having to be a GP or a Dynamics user. And that's one of the keys in ReQlogic is at no point does any ReQlogic user have to have a Dynamics user license. So it's a cost savings and it's a control savings because I keep people out of my accounting and purchasing system. Because of that real-time integration, they have access to things, but they're never a user, and they can never change anything in Dynamics that I'm not allowing them to change. The routing policy in ReQlogic is where it starts to shine. You have an advanced routing policy that is unlimited. I can have an unlimited number of policies specifically, and I can have an unlimited number of approval levels within each policy. So total flexibility on what I want to do with any of those workflows. So do I want to have a policy for requisitions, and a policy for invoices, and a policy for purchase order related invoices, and a policy for P-cards? I can do all that if I want to. Can I build all of those things into one policy with lots of variables in that policy? Can do that too. Can I do a hybrid of the above? All of that as well. The only thing that we ask is, did you capture the information that I want to use in that routing policy? And if I did, not only can I use it in the routing policy, but I can use it in the routing policy for approval, I can use it for my reporting, and I can use it for budgeting. So I have lots of flexibility in the information that I gather, and that information does not have to reside in ReQlogic. Again, because of that direct real-time integration, I can have that information reside in ReQlogic, I can have it reside in Dynamics, I can have it reside somewhere else. So if you're tying into something like a Microsoft CRM, and I want to capture the costs associated with a specific customer, or keeping a customer, maintaining a customer, all of those kinds of things, I can even tie it off to those types of things. So that's all possible within ReQlogic. You also have multiple Route to options for the routing policy, including delegation, delegation on the fly, delegation by different variables, and delegation by date range, very similar to your out of office. So I know if somebody's out of the office from the 5th to the 15th, it can automatically reroute around that person, go to their delegate while they're gone, and then come back to them for anything further once they get back. So nothing sits in queue and waits for somebody to come back from being away from the office. One of the things that's also nice within ReQlogic is you do have a document management system that's native to the product. So you can capture an unlimited number of attachments and an unlimited type of file in the attachment all the way through the process. Anybody who you allow can add documents to the process. So if it's a requisition and I've got a specification sheet or an MSDS sheet at the requester level, I can let them put it in. I can let approvers put in other things that they may need to do. And more importantly, at the end of the process, when it does push into Dynamics, that document is available to my accounting personnel as well. So now AP or accounting or purchasing can see the same documents, invoices, expense receipts, whatever, that went in through the process in the accounting system. Everybody's looking at the same thing. I've also got multiple places for notes with unlimited text, so I can capture justifications as we go through. We talked about that already. Let's kind of show that as we go. We are fully mobile enabled specifically for the approval side. We call it the approve on the move. And we're device agnostic. I don't care what the device is. Is it a laptop, a desktop, a remote station, an iPad, a Droid, a Windows 8 phone? Don't care. If I can get out there, I can get my approvals done, and I can get in. Specifically, a couple of screenshots from specific devices. I believe this is off of an iPad. The screen on the left shows the buckets that this user may be able to see. If I were to click into my recent transactions, it would show me the screen on the right, and I could see the transactions that I have in progress, and I could drill down with the details button all the way down to source documentation from my mobile device. Specifically on this one, it's an iPhone, and I can see on the left-hand side my buckets again. I can drill just like I did before, and on the right, this is how a user would enter an expense report from their mobile device. So you can see with the receipt tab at the bottom, I can take a picture of the receipt that might be in front of me. I can fill in whatever pieces of information you've determined is necessary for this user at this step, and I can submit my expense report from my phone. And I can do it one at a time and continue to build an expense report, or I can do it one-off and have one per transaction. Again, lots of flexibility. The last slide that we'll look at is configuration. Everything you're about to see is configurable. So whether it's the text, the labels, the messages, what's included in the email, the user interfaces, and we'll talk about those, all of the views, all of that you can configure. And when I say you can configure, I mean that literally. You can configure it yourself. You will be trained in that in the implementation process if you want to be. If not, don't get us wrong. Sean's team, OmniVue, my team, we're always here to help. But if you can do it without having to pay for it, we get that. So you'll be given the opportunity to learn that in the process so you don't have to go outside and get help if you choose not to. So let me get out of here and let's get into the actual product itself. So what I've done here is I've simply opened up ReQlogic as a basic user. Now let me roll down just a bit. You'll notice that in this case, I'm a user named Amanda. She's not a Dynamics user, but she's in my Dynamics company. And when the user logs in, the first thing the user is going to see is a home screen. And I can put various things on that home screen. So I can see if she's an approver, I've got an approvals queue. If she's not an approver, I don't have to see that. I can remove that, and I can show just a transactions bar. That transaction screen shows this user exactly what they have in process right now. So I can take a look, and I can see as I look down the left-hand side, excuse me, every icon can mean something different. So I can have the blue icons for the requisitions and the green icons for my expenses and the white icons for my invoices, and I can do those kinds of things. And I can see in process where they are. Anytime I see a blue bar, like you see across here, it tells me that everything in that blue bar is configurable, and you can show this user what you think they need to see. So you can configure this to fit your business model. I can see that in this case, document number, username, description, that all makes sense. If I'm not using the project functionality, then I probably don't need the hours. I can take that out, use that field for something else, clean the screen up, whatever. Most importantly, though, is the status tab, because this tells the user exactly where this document is in your process right now. And I can see this invoice has not yet been submitted. This requisition has been turned into a purchase order. This invoice has been processed. This one is in routing. You get the idea. I can see where it is in the process. But I can also take it much further. So let's take that invoice that's been processed. If I look at this one, I can see, sure, it's been processed, and it was processed yesterday. However, maybe I want more information. So I can come over and I can just hit the button. It's going to open that actual invoice routing document for me and take me into the details. So now I can see everything that was at the header. I can see all the pertinent information. I can see the line items. In this case, it was just one line item. It was for $1,500. I can see from the $ icon that I'm hitting this against a budget. I can also see that it's over budget. And if I want to give people warning messages about the over budget, all I have to do is make that a button. And then when I click the button, it shows them details. And you can include in that message whatever pertinent information you choose. So is it budget owner's name, phone number, email address, actual budget dollars, budget overage, all those things standard. And if I want to look at the actual document, well, I can come right into the document management, and I can say, yes, show me that invoice that we just paid. And I can look directly at the invoice from inside of the routing document that I got there from my home screen. Let me go back to that because I didn't mean to jump out of there quite so early. Oops, let's go to the right one. So we'll go back to the one we were just in, and I also can tell if I look at two places. If I look at the routing tab, this is going to tell me where this went for approval. That's kind of useful, but it may not be quite as useful as the audit trail. The audit trail is going to give me a date, time, and user stamp for everybody that touched this invoice, what they did to it, if they made a change, if they made comments, asked questions, answered questions, etc. And because of that direct real-time integration with Dynamics, I can say in this case it does live in Dynamics as voucher number 629. I can continue to track that voucher as it goes through Dynamics from ReQlogic. So when that voucher gets paid, if I want to include a payment date, a check number, an ACH number, any other pertinent information that might be in Dynamics, I can push that back into ReQlogic and continue to build the audit trail, excuse me, so that now when the auditors come back in or when Sarbanes-Oxley comes in, all I have to do is come to one place, show them the audit trail, print the audit trail if I need to, make it part of a report with multiple audit trails. All those things are at your fingertips. So I've got all of that information in front of me. From the home screen, I also have two other things. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I can have up to 2 key performance indicator charts. So now I can tell this user, and this is driven by user, I can tell them, okay, for your job function, what do you want to track very closely? In this case, the user is in the purchasing department, and they're tracking the top 10 purchase orders and the top 10 requisitions over the last 30 days. Well, we use KPIs in graphical format because it's very easy to see an anomaly in a chart versus a report. So now I can take a look at this chart, and if I'm looking at the top 10 requisitions over the last 30 days, I can see, well, this one, if I hover over the box, it is interactive, so it's going to tell me this one was for about $10,000, this one was for $11,000, and this one was for almost $51,000. So I can find the anomaly very quickly. And if I want to know what is up with the anomaly, I simply click on the box. It takes me to that requisition so that I can tell what was out there. There's my project plan. There's 3 line items. One came from inventory. One's been purchased and received. The other one's been purchased and not received. I've got a PO details tab. I can see what items are on what purchase orders. I've got a receipts tab. I can see what's been received. I can see where, when, who, why, etc. And I still have the full audit trail, so I can go right down to who requested, who asked questions, who answered, who approved, who rejected, and who turned into purchase orders. I've got a full audit trail. All of that directly from my home screen. It came from my KPI. And if 2 KPIs are not enough, I have the ability to go into the dashboard, and I can say, sure, show me up to 6 more KPIs that fit specifically to my job function. So every user can do KPIs based on whatever information is important to them. And that's why we say it's very important to know what information you're capturing, because if I've captured it, I can report it, and if I can report it, I can KPI it. It's a very simple roll down. So since we know we're short on time, let's go through some of the keys. Some of the keys in ReQlogic, let's start with the requisitioning piece. I can hit the transactions bar, and I can show what the user has available to them from a functionality standpoint. All the things that are there, and you can lock it down if they only need to do requisitions and expenses or requisitions and invoices or whatever. You don't have to show them the whole thing, But if you do show them a lot, every user can then also customize to allow a set of favorites across the top. So I can say, well, these are the things that I do every day. Let's make this very simple. So I can click the blue button. It opens the header of a requisition for me. Now, because we use Windows Authentication as well as Active Directory and some other third-party security that might be out there, I can have it know certain things about my user, so it's less confusing for the user, all about the efficiency, and I control the information that goes in, so I can capture the things that are important. So when I click the new button, you'll notice that it populates what it knows. It knows who she is, it knows what policy she belongs to, it knows her department, it knows other things about her. And I've got 24 more user-defined fields in the header, as well as every individual line item that I can capture more information if I need more information for my routing, reporting, or budgeting. So I can capture what I need to capture. Anytime you see a magnifying glass to the left of a field in ReQlogic, or pardon me, to the right of a field in ReQlogic, it tells me that I have the ability to change that information if I've been given access. So let's take department. So in this case, she works in the finance department. However, maybe this requisition should belong to the accounting department. So when she clicks the button, this tells her that, okay, these are the departments you're allowed to assign this to, and this is a pull directly out of my Dynamics database, so this is my departmental table. These are the ones she's assigned to, and let's say, yeah, this belongs to accounting. I can very quickly change this to an accounting department requisition. I need to give it a description, so let's just say these are IT supplies. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do, and I can go right into grabbing my line items. Now, we try to make it very simple for the users to say, these are the things I want to grab. So I can do it in one of three ways. If I know, let's say I need a laptop. If I know I need a laptop, I can simply start to type in laptop. If it finds a laptop, either in my inventory, if I carry an inventory, or in one of my ReQlogic catalogs, and you get an unlimited number of those catalogs with the system, then you can grab that information and say, sure, is that the one I want? It brings it up, and it populates everything it knows about that item. And I still just have to go in. Now, do I want to change the description? And I might need a hard hat model because it's going to be used in the field. I can do those kinds of things. It is, let's say I need one, and I need it by, oh, I don't know, the 6th. All of these fields are configurable, just like we talked about earlier. I don't have to include everything that's here. I can include this information. I can not include it, and I can include more. It's up to you in the configuration. That's what you're going to talk to Sean and his team about in the implementation process. What's important to you and what information do I need to capture? You know, if I am tying this to my project functionality in the accounting system, it is a direct real-time integration. So if I were to click the magnifying glass, it's going to show this user all of the projects that they have access to, and I can dive right into the project, and then it'll fill in cost categories, etc. If I choose not to use project, I don't have to. So all of that's up to you. You do have the ability to split lines in GL distribution. We do support analytical accounting in GP as well if that's something that matters to you. If I want to attach that specification sheet, like we mentioned, I can attach that here. I can do whatever I need to with that. I can save it, and I can go ahead and go right through the process. In this case, let's say, yes, I want to go ahead and save that just like it is, and I want to go to something else. So now I've got that line item saved. I can see it up here. I can also see it is hitting against the budget. If I want to see where I sit within the budget, in this case, had I included a project, it would show me my project budget, but since I didn't, I can have it look at the GL budget in the accounting system, or I can have it look at budgets that sit outside of the accounting system. It's up to you. You can be very granular, or you can stay within the accounting system. Totally up to you. And again, blue bar, show them only what they need to see. You do not have to show everybody everything. But let's say I don't know. It's not a laptop, and I don't know what it's called. But I know I need one. So I can hit the magnifying glass, and I can look directly at my Dynamics inventory if I carry one. I can even show stock on hand if I need to. And if it's not an inventory, or if I don't carry an inventory, I can show those ReQlogic catalogs that I talked about. So let's say I need business cards. I'll grab that, and it pulls in everything it needs. It pulls in my preferred vendor. It pulls in my ship to based on where I am. Although maybe I want to change this. I want it sent to my house or drop shipped to a trade show or whatever. I can still attach projects and costs and do all of that. And let's say I need 4 boxes of business cards. And maybe I want to attach a picture of my current business card so that they know what it's supposed to look like. I can do that. I can also put general notes. notes to the buying process, or notes that will actually go out to the vendor on the purchase order. All of those things very possible. And then let me save this item. The third option that you've got is the fun option, because you have punch-out. ReQlogic does support the punch-out phenomenon. Punch-out is where you get the ability, it gives you the best of both worlds. You get the ability to go out and tell your users, hey, these are the websites I'm going to allow you to go to. And now they can go out, they connect up to the website, they shop CDW or Dell or wherever they go. They use the configurators that are already there on those sites. You don't have to maintain the items, the quantities, the maintenance, anything like that. They're going out to the website. However, you also did not give up any control, because at the end of their shopping cart experience, what's going to happen is, rather than process the shopping cart, it actually turns that shopping cart into a set of line items inside your ReQlogic requisition. And if I had 3 line items in the shopping cart, I'd have 3 more here on the requisition. And now it still has to go through your approval process, all the things that you require before it turns into a purchase order in the Dynamics system and then communicates back to the website. So punch-out gives you the best of both worlds. I've got full control, but I don't have to do any of the maintenance on the catalogs, and I don't have to allow my users to go everywhere, but I don't have to also restrict them to only doing certain things. I can allow them to do what they're allowed to do, but no more, and all within your control. As we talk about the approval process in ReQlogic, I can go in and I can take a look real quickly at the approval policy. Now, I said you can have an unlimited number of policies, so in this case, you see I've got 10 or 12 policies up there. Now, we were playing with the corporate workflow. This is where the routing policy can be a lot of fun. Think of this as a giant if-then statement. If something happens, then what do I want to have happen after that? So in this case, in our scenario, it's going to go to their manager because they're the first level of approval whenever the user does something that's outside their limit. Well, I set that user limit to 0. So if she does something that requires a dollar value, it goes to her manager. But you can do so much more. I can do things that are type and class related. If it's classified as an IT item, if it's a maintenance item, if it's a restricted item, if it's we have a lot of pharmaceutical companies. If it's a restricted pharmaceutical, it may go through a different routing policy. And in this case, it says, if it's IT related, it goes to the IT manager. If it's over a certain dollar value and a certain type, it may go to somebody else. In this case, anything IT over $5,000 goes to the IT VP. I can include project, I can include budget, I can include buyers and layers of buyers and buyer specializations. I can do policies inside of policies. I can do all kinds of things. Really, it's only up to your imagination. I have the ability to go through and to set up the workflow the way your business runs. You don't have to run your business the way that the workflow runs, and that's a key differentiator. I did not mention that we are fully email enabled as well, so let me hit send receive. You'll notice that I do have reminders. I can send reminders to people to tell them, hey, you've got things that are out there that are at least X number of hours, days, whatever, old, so I can track what's out and I can remind people they haven't done their job. But I can also tell people when something has been processed. So let's take, I think this is an invoice. If I want to look at this, this is an example of the email that may have gone out in the invoice process. So this user bought filing cabinets. It's going to this manager because they're the first level of approval. We saw that. I can see the line item details. I can see by the bottom of the email that I have the ability to approve, reject, and modify from my email. And I also have the ability to look at the actual invoice documents from my email. And I mentioned we're fully mobile enabled. So I'd have the ability to not only look at the email on my phone, my desktop, my laptop, wherever, my tablet, depending. So I've got the ability to look at it. I can look at the actual supporting documentation, and I can approve, reject, and modify directly from my email. So as we talk about powering efficiency and cost control, the efficiency is huge. The cost control is all at your place. As we go back into ReQlogic, I know I'm very short on time, so let's go back here. We talked about the ability to do requisitions and expenses and invoice processing and all of those kinds of things. Invoice processing can be very simple. Invoices and expenses I can also automate, where I can say I can take it off of an email and I can have the scan automatically populate in the document so that I can see the scan is there. If I've got a scanner attached to my machine, I can populate that there. I can fill in the information that you think is important, and I can create the invoice from one screen. In reality, it takes less than about 6 seconds to get something like this done and pushed into your approval process. Might be a lot quicker than the way you might be doing it now, especially if you're doing it by paper and SneakerNet, or I'm stamping it and walking it, stamping it and walking it back. With ReQlogic, you can get a full audit trail on where it is and where it's been and where it is in the process next, and I'm able to track and control not only where things are, but where they're going, and I've got a full picture of where my dollars are being spent, and I'm controlling the costs both before they happen and I'm tracking them after they happen. So I know we only had 30 minutes. That takes me right to it. I appreciate your time. As I said, we can do this for about 3 hours if you want to. I hope this gives you just a little bit of an idea of some of the things that are possible with ReQlogic and Dynamics. Sean is your man at OmniVue. We greatly appreciate OmniVue giving us the chance to do this, and I look forward to talking to more of you on a more personal setting as we get deeper into what you may actually be able to use from ReQlogic and OmniVue together. Sean, with that, I'll throw it back to you. I think Sean might be having audio issues at the moment. While he comes off of mute, I know Sean will be following up with many of you. Also, this has been recorded. Feel free to not only look at the recording again if you need to, also feel free to forward that on to other people who might want to see it. And if you need more specific information about ReQlogic, our website is reqlogic.com. ReQlogic.com. My contact information is there, although Sean is your best ball person.
Yes, Rich, thank you so much for presenting today. We really appreciate your partnership and walking us through the product, and thank you to our attendees for also taking time out of your day to learn more about the ReQlogic solution. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to call or email us at OmniVue. We're happy to take those for you or follow up on any future discovery with the folks at ReQlogic. We appreciate all that you do with us, and if you have further suggestions, please let us know. With that, we want to thank you again. Have a great day and a fantastic 2015.